This is our second lesson in this chapter, and today's a hands-on lesson, so remember the slides look a little bit different on a hands-on lesson. So not as many slides, and they're kind of in a different weird order. So today we're going to be multiplying with decimals. Just like what we did yesterday, we did some estimating where we multiplied a whole number with a decimal, and we estimated it. Today we're going to draw a picture to find the actual answer, and then tomorrow we're going to be just multiplying and finding the answer. Are you going to, I'll take that whiteboard marker. Thank you. We're not using a whiteboard right now. You're not using it in the right way. Okay. Just watch, I guess. You don't have it. I don't have any extras, so. Wait, for the sharpener. So yesterday we talked about our essential question, and I explained what that meant, so we're going to read it again. How is multiplying and dividing decimals similar to multiplying and dividing whole numbers? So I told you yesterday that when we're multiplying and dividing decimals, it's actually the same as multiplying and dividing whole numbers. The difference is you just have to find where you're going to put the decimal point. So unlike adding and subtracting, when you multiply, you don't just drop the decimal right down into the answer. Instead, you have to do a little bit different, some different little tricks there in order to find where the decimal point goes in each of those answers. And so that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So today we're going to be drawing pictures so that you can visualize and see exactly how we're going to be getting those answers for tomorrow. All right, so here's your problem of the day. Jimmy buys 2 dozen cookies and a pie at the bakery for $17.50. If the pie costs $8.30, how much does 1 dozen cookies cost? So I'm going to underline some of the important information. He buys 2 dozen cookies and a pie. Keep listening. Total amount he spent was $17.50. The pie cost $8.30. The question is, how much does 1 dozen cookies cost? So let's see if you figured out some of the things I underlined and why they're important. If he spends $17.50, in order to see how much the cookies cost, we can subtract the amount of the pie. Everybody watching the screen? Then you're going to compare with what answer you have on your paper. So if I subtract the cost of the pie,
it's still going to be 17.
It is, you're right. That would be, then that means he spent $9.20 on cookies. How many dozen of cookies did he buy? 2 dozen cookies. See? The question is, how much does 1 dozen cookies cost? So we're going to have to assume that they cost the same amount, like he bought 2 of the same thing. So it would really be $9.20 cut in half. We're dividing it. So 2 dozen cookies cost $9.20. That's what, because that's what was left. So in order to figure out how much 1 dozen costs, we have to divide. So we haven't actually learned how to divide decimals yet with the whole number, but I'm going to give you a little preview.
It's easy.
I'm going to bump my decimal point up here, and then I'm just going to divide. So each dozen cookies would cost $4.60.
Called it.
I just did it right here.
What? Just didn't tell you. Right.
It's because you don't know how to.
Lot left to do. Let's look at your paper. Remember, since this is a hands-on lesson, we're not really going to take a lot of notes. We're going to use our hundreds grids that we have on our paper. So we are. Let's see if you're ready for this. So we are, listen very, very carefully. I don't feel like everyone's listening very carefully. I only want to say it once, and if you're not listening carefully, then I have to say it again and again and again for the people who aren't listening the first time. So, what we're doing today is finding an actual answer. So yesterday we did estimating. So we had to take a number and we rounded it, and then we multiplied it by the other number, which we also sometimes would round, depends, and we try to make that an easier thing to be able to multiply together in our heads. Today, we're going to find an exact answer, but we're drawing a picture to get there. And then tomorrow, we're going to find the actual answer without drawing the pictures. So you have to make sure you're watching to know exactly how to draw these pictures. So when we're multiplying, we are making more of something, right? So if I'm saying 4 tenths times 2, that means I have 4 tenths twice. So I'm making that number a bigger number, okay? So I'm going to shade 4 rows of each model to represent 4 tenths. So this way, they're doing it horizontally this way. 4 tenths looks like this. So I'm shading in 4 tenths. That's 4 tenths once. This would be 4 tenths twice. And then they're asking you to look at the next box and mush them together. So let's look at, I have to go to the next screen and look at the next box. We're going to combine both shaded parts to one model. So because this is our example and it's our very first example, they had you shade it twice and then merge them together to shade them another time. That's kind of how your assignment's going to look also. You have them, you're being asked to shade them in each of their own boxes on each of their own 100 grids and then merge them together. So now I have 4 tenths here and I have 4 tenths here. So once you shade in 4 tenths and another 4 tenths, the amount that we shaded is 8 tenths. So 4 tenths times 2 would be 8 tenths. Now because on this one it was times 2, it was almost like adding, which we've done before, like in the last chapter, right? Because it's almost like we added 4 tenths plus 4 tenths. That's the same thing as 4 tenths times 2. That's why they were showing you down here. You could use repeated addition to help you solve that one if you want to check your work. Let's look at the next example. The try it. Here's try it. Let's use a different color. So this one is 6 tenths times 3. So that means we're going to shade 6 tenths in 3 different 100 grids. So 6 tenths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one last time. So we did 6 tenths 3 times. If you, like I'm doing a different color here, if you want to use a highlighter is a good way. If you don't have one out right now, then just wait until later to grab one. But a highlighter is a good way to use because you can see through it. So as you're highlighting, you can still see where you are and it doesn't take up, it's not like using a black marker or something. Karnpreet, I need you to go sit somewhere else. Don't know where, but find a place maybe over there on the edge. All right, let's look at how we're going to combine them. So step number 2 says to combine all 3 shaded parts. Since they don't fit onto one model, you're going to have to use 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And our second 6 tenths goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we have 6 tenths more because we multiplied it by 3. So we have 1 whole and 8 tenths. when I shaded it, I shaded 6 tenths 3 times. And only 10 of those tenths can fit into one hole. So as we're doing the shading, it's gonna overflow into the next box. So 6 tenths times 3 is 1 and 8 tenths. Do you see a pattern here? Like, what is 6 times 3?
18.
It's a good way to check, right? If you look. Now, as far as where the decimal goes, that's what we haven't really, that's what we'll talk about tomorrow, is how to pop the decimal into your answer. But for today, a good way to check to make sure you got your numbers right is multiply the whole numbers together like we did here, 6 and 3, and you get 18. And if you take the decimal out, that's what you have there. So if you take the decimals away and you multiply it, you should have the same number as you have in your answer. And so that's always a good way to check decimal multiplication. But tomorrow is when we're going to talk about where to place the decimal point. Yes? If you're trying to tell me where to put the decimal, let's not talk about that till tomorrow. Thank you. Because I don't want to confuse anybody. If you already know how to do it, you do. But that's what tomorrow's lesson is. So right now, today, all we're doing is doing the shading part of it. All right. Let's do another one together. I'm going to skip by this. You can do that on your own. We're going to do one more, and then one more. Then I'll let you work by yourself. Let's skip to number 4, though. Does it matter if your whole number comes first or second when you multiply? Yes or no?
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, because it's commutative, right? Remember what commutative means? It means that no matter what order you put the numbers, you get the same answer. So addition and multiplication both work that way. So when you're adding or when you're multiplying, it doesn't matter which number comes first. So on number 4, it looks a little different because the 2 comes first and then the 7 tenths comes second. And look at number 3. The decimal comes first with the whole number second. And you're going to do it the same way no matter what. So you're going to first find the decimal. So on number 4, the decimal is 7 tenths. That's what I'm going to color, and I'm going to color that 2 times because that's what it shows me that I'm multiplying by. Now you can do your shading horizontally or vertically. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's whatever you're most comfortable with. So 7 tenths is going to look like this. Basically, we're going to have 3 spaces left, right? After we shade it in. And then over here, you're going to shade 7 again because it's 7 tenths times 2. And then on this one, we're going to mix them together to find our final answer. So I shaded in 7 tenths on the first model, I shade 7 tenths on the second model, and now I'm going to shade the total. I'm going to merge them together. So I have 7 first, and then my next 7, I'm just going to continue here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So how much did I color in? Angelina? 1 whole and 4 tenths. What is 2 times 7? 14. And that's what I have if I took my decimal out, right? So that's a good way to check your work. Anthony, watch one more time. 7 tenths is my decimal. That's what I shaded in. 7 tenths. Wait, hold on. Do you get that part? What I just said. 7 tenths, I shaded it twice. I shaded it twice because that's the number right here that tells me that I shaded twice. Then on the next model, I blend those together. I can't really find an answer when the models are separate. I have to put them together. So then I shaded 7 lines again. And then my next 7, instead of putting it in its own, I combined it with the first one until I got to a whole, and then I overflowed it to the next one. So the answer would be 1 and 4 tenths. 1 decimal 4. Karnpreet.
You just do 7 lines twice.
Yes, because it's times 2. So they want to show them what 7 tenths looks like. What 7 tenths looks like, and then do it again. So let's try, we can do number 3 also since it's already up here. 3 tenths times 2. So on each of these boxes, these 100 grids, I'm going to shade 3 tenths on each one. So 3 tenths here, 3 tenths here. And then on this third box is where I'm going to blend them together. So I have 3 tenths, 4, 5, 6. Now I have 6/10. And 3 times 2 is 6, which helps you to double check your work. Okay? That is what you're doing for math today. So we're doing tomorrow, we're going to bump it up where I'm going to show you the algorithm for multiplying and how to place your decimal point. But for today, make sure you're doing the shading. If you want to borrow a yellow marker or an orange marker, they work pretty much the same as a highlighter if you don't have a highlighter handy. Try not to color too hard, because if you do, it's going to go onto the other side of your paper and you're not going to be able to see. Like that. You can use a pencil too.
Nolan ruined his paper.